town's in a mess. And there are a lot of issues that concern a lot of people here, but in my opinion, a lot of that mess doesn't get straightened out until you take care of the mess at the top.
Good evening, it's November 3rd, and welcome back to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Lauren Williamson. Sandra Hall, the organizer of a local community Facebook page and former select board member, was one of around 24 residents present last weekend at the Harwich Community Organization meeting. She spoke on her endeavor to bring a consequential question to the ballots in May. Should the town elect a commission to rewrite the town charter?
Talked a little bit about the Charter Commission at the last meeting. I don't know if everybody was there, but a Charter Commission is a 9-member elected commission whose job it is to do a top-to-bottom review of the charter. The charter is the lead governing document of our town. It's called Harwich Home Rule Charter. It's an option given to Massachusetts cities and states to do things their own way overall. There are some things that we can't do as long as it doesn't conflict with the state constitution. We're generally in good shape. But we've been nibbling at the edges. There've been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of interpretation of charter by our leadership in recent years, backstopped by town council's very questionable opinions. I think, and a lot of us think, that it's time to do a new charter. We can do incremental changes through articles at town meeting and votes at the ballot box, but this would take the whole thing. And some of the things that we can't do in nibbling around the edges is look at our structure of town administrator, selectman, form of town meeting. The Charter Commission has the wherewithal. Wednesday morning I went to sit with Emily Mitchell and I pulled petitions. We need 15% of the voters registered as of the last state election. So at a minimum, we need to collect 1,716 signatures to bring the question to the ballot next May. And that's what all that this will do, is ask the voters, do you want a charter commission? In the same election, we would elect 9 people, 9 citizens at large, totally independent of the Board of Selectmen, to take a really good comprehensive look at the charter and potentially bring back a revised charter, hopefully tightening up a lot of these little loopholes that people seem to like to find, or misinterpretations that they seem so fond of these days. Town's in a mess. And there are a lot of issues that concern a lot of people here, but in my opinion, a lot of that mess doesn't get straightened out until you take care of the mess at the top.
About $28 million of Barnstable County unreserved funds need allocation. Between 2021 and 2023, Barnstable County received unprecedented excise revenue totaling more than the entire 2023 operating budget. The county assembled a team of officials to give recommendations to the Board of the Regional Commissioners as to how these funds should be distributed. The team's recommendations include $15 million into a capital improvement fund to eliminate the need to borrow money for big projects, $2.8 million into a revenue deficit contingency fund to provide a cushion against revenue shortfalls, and lastly, $7 million into a cleanup for PFAS or PFAS contaminants at the former municipal fire training site, including maintenance of existing groundwater treatment systems and the implementations of new groundwater pump systems. The County Board of Regional Commissioners agreed with all of these suggestions, stating that the next step is to bring the recommendations to the County Assembly of Delegates for approval. Rapidly shrinking Atlantic sea herring populations are proving detrimental to the Cape's fishing economy, and fishermen say midwater trawlers are to blame. Trawlers, or net fishers, can catch and hold up to 1 million pounds of fish at a time. Due to the size of the nets and the speed at which fish can be caught, many consider this method of fishing to be too efficient and even destructive to the ecosystem. Between 2014 and 2021, U.S. catch levels plummeted from 93,000 to just 5,000 metric tons. Despite these numbers, proponents of trawling argue that it has not been proven that this fishing method has anything to do with the dwindling numbers. As forage fish, herring are vital to the ocean ecosystem. They serve as food for seals, whales, waterfowl, large fish, and crustaceans. Without forage fish like herring, these animals must rely on other food sources, often moving to different areas further out to the sea where supply is more abundant. Local fishermen point out that midwater trawlers can also fish deeper waters without having their numbers impacted. The New England Fishery Management Council voted to start work on a regulation amendment that would push the trawlers 20 miles out from the Cape shores to undo the effects of overfishing and rebuild the Atlantic sea herring population. Final bids for the proposed automated multi-purpose machine gun practice range at Joint Base Cape Cod were about $6 million over the initial estimated cost. Last June, the Army National Guard proposed the machine gun range project with an estimated cost of $8.9 million. The two bidders, West Construction and R. Zoppo Corporations, submitted their final bids of over $15 million. The Association to Preserve Cape Cod sent a letter to Massachusetts lawmakers in September expressing their concern that the Environmental Protection Agency has not yet approved the project, stating in their draft that the project has the potential to contaminate Cape Cod's sole source aquifer. However, the Joint Base has reassured residents that the EPA's involvement will be crucial in the design and planning of the range. Despite uncertainty about where funding will come from, the Army National Guard states that the machine gun range is necessary in order to comply with the updated U.S. Army qualification standards and to continue to prioritize Army National Guard training. This year's Veterans Day activities in Barnstable will take place on Saturday, November 11th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. with a wreath-laying ceremony at the JFK and Korean War Memorial in Hyannis. At 9:30, following the wreath ceremony, the annual Barnstable Soldiers Veterans Day ceremony will begin on the Hyannis Village Green Bandstand with a message from the governor and guest speaker, Town Councilor Paul Cusack. Afterwards, the 6th Annual Veterans Town Hall will take place at the James Crocker Hearing Room, with an hour of testimonies from several combat veterans. The town of Barnstable would like to stress that this is not a political event, and there will be no discussion or debate of political topics. Veterans Day activities are to honor those who have served and join the community in supporting our veterans. Coming up after the break, migrants share their stories in a new speaker series. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. The refugee support team of the Nauset Interfaith Association has been hosting a series of speakers titled Voices of Migrants. In their second installment, the Brewster Ladies Library hosted the Nutuba family to speak about their experiences fleeing the Congo.
But the UN aid to find local people can help them to understand how to approach national citizens, how to approach national communities. That way I found a job in the UN because I was speaking 6 languages. And I had an opportunity to travel with them all over the place in a very dangerous situations, as I'll show you in the pictures. And that was my job because I had first to help them to meet the leader of the communities that could be religious communities or rebel leaders. And to meet those dangerous people, that wasn't easy at all, because they need to send you first as a fixer alone in the jungle. You have to meet with them. If things turn wrong, you might not get back forever. When those people took me in an unknown place, yes, and I was tortured for so many days. And one day, one of the guards told me that, listen, I don't want to be part of this. These people are going to kill you, but you don't have to stay here. I want to help you leave. I asked him, why are you going to do that? He said, you know, I know you are a journalist. I know these people, they don't play. They want to kill you. But leave this place and never come back again. You don't know me, I don't know you. But I'll be happy if you leave this place. And that guy helped me to leave that place. And I never know exactly who he was. And after that, I went in the UN compound. I spoke to my boss, telling them that I cannot go back to my house anymore because the situation was so dangerous. The country wasn't safe.
You can watch the full event on the Comcast channel 26 next week, and the third and final event will be held on November 11th at the East Ham United Methodist Church from 2 to 4, where Dr. Quaderi will speak on her experiences leaving Afghanistan. Make your voice heard this voting season. Barnstable town elections will be held Tuesday, November 7th. All 13 town council seats are up for grabs, as well as 3 school committee seats and 2 on the Housing Authority Board. 8 town council seats are being contested, with 7 incumbents being challenged by newcomers. Neither the school committee nor the Housing Authority seats are challenged. However, only one of the 2 Housing Authority seats has a candidate. The unclaimed seat will be filled by a write-in candidate or appointed if no candidate steps forward. To view polling locations, head to the town's website at townofbarnstable.us. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on November 7th. October 28th marked a monumentous day in history of Cotuit Federated Church as the congregation gathered to celebrate the culmination of years of hard work and dedication. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for the recently completed building expansion project symbolized not just the physical growth of the church, but also the unity within the community. The event welcomed members into the newly renovated space, signifying a new chapter in the church's journey. Take a look.
We're here today. We are taking time to dedicate our newly expanded church and community hall. And so we are having a day of celebration after 6 long years of a building project.
The show is just getting started.
We were able to expand the sanctuary seating and move our Sunday school classrooms upstairs and create a new community hall that's twice the size of our old hall. And we are going to be able to better serve the community with these newly renovated spaces.
When a church becomes 80% full, it's really 100% because people aren't comfortable going in and budging people over for seats and all that. So at Christmas and Easter, you make the best of it, but on a regular Sunday, you need to make more space for people. So we had a great congregation that was in agreement, and it was time to do a renovation. And we said nothing had happened in this church since 1950. That's a long time. The last time we did anything is when we moved up a hall and connected it to the old sanctuary. So it was time.
So we had several events. We had some funerals where we didn't have enough space for the community to gather to remember a life. We had a wedding where all of the young adults were lined up and standing on the side. And we had some baptisms where people were outside of the sanctuary, and it was actually some funerals where people walked away because we didn't have space, that we decided we needed more space. We were a growing congregation, and we didn't have the space that we needed, and we wanted to be fully accessible. So in this project, we were able to move the children upstairs, install an elevator, as well as use green technologies to make the building more efficient. You can learn more about Cotuit Federated Church on our website, which is cotuitfederatedchurch.org. You can also learn more about us on our Facebook page. We stream worship every week. We worship here in the sanctuary at 10 a.m. on Sundays. And we like to say, no matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you're welcome here. So all are welcome to come and worship with us.
The Town of Yarmouth special town meeting is scheduled for November 7th at 6 p.m. This meeting will address 20 warrant articles to be voted on pertaining to things like school building maintenance costs, fire and police and Department of Natural Resource capital expenditures, and the creation of Riverwalk Park at the site of the old drive-in theater. Other topics such as zoning amendments and bylaw changes to the wetlands and accessory apartments are expected to take up the majority of this discussion. The Town of Yarmouth has also taken the liberty to provide a video explaining all the warrant articles. The video can be found for your viewing on the town's website at yarmouth.ma.us. The meeting itself will be held at the new Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate School on Station Avenue in South Yarmouth.
We have a new facility with our brand new intermediate middle school located at 286 Station Ave, having been completed with a beautiful auditorium, and the Mattakey School having closed down. The November 7, 2023 Fall Special Town Meeting will be held at the new Intermediate Middle School, 286 Station Avenue in South Yarmouth. So we hope folks get to see this new facility. I know a lot of you folks have already, but please, although we'll have a million signs up, don't go to the Mattakey School, go to the new facility.
Also later in the week at the Dennis Yarmouth Intermediate Middle School, there will be a Dennis Special Town Meeting, which is scheduled for November 9th at 7 p.m. The town of Dennis will address a series of pressing matters that impact the town's finances, infrastructure, and community services. There are 24 warrant articles to be covered and voted on. Articles 5 to 11 concern Community Preservation Act's grants for various projects, such as cemetery preservation, architectural consulting services, and sports facility safety improvements. The decisions made at this meeting will significantly impact the town's present and future. The active participation of residents is vital in shaping the town's policies and ensuring that its finances, infrastructure, and community services align with the needs and priorities of the community. To see the special town meeting warrant, go to town.dennis.ma.us. Coming up after the break, the Harwich Select Board Chair resigns. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. In a heartfelt and bittersweet departure, Mary Anderson, the chair of the Harwich Select Board, announced her resignation effective immediately on October 25th. Her decision cited personal reasons as the primary reason for her departure in an email to the town clerk, Emily Mitchell. She is quoted saying, "It is with a very bittersweet emotion that I am resigning from the Select Board effective immediately. This is not a decision I have made lightly, but for personal reasons, I find it is necessary to take this step." Having served as the chair and a member of the board since her resounding election in May 2021, Anderson mentioned a regretful departure from the pressing issues, highlighting housing as a pivotal concern she wished to continue addressing. She is also quoted saying, "I have never quit anything in my life, but at this point, I have to do what is best for me. I wish my fellow Select Board members all the best, but mostly I wish all the best for the town of Harwich, which we all love. The departure prompted heartfelt gratitude from the remaining select board members, acknowledging and thanking Anderson for her dedicated service to the town of Harwich.
And I'd just like to take a minute to acknowledge our colleague, Mary Anderson, just to say thank you to Mary for the wonderful job she did and all the hard work she put in for our board. She was a great collaborator. She reached out to so many different people in town and really tried to hit the ground running once she was elected. So I just want to acknowledge all the hard work Mary did and thank her for her time. I don't know if other board members want to say anything.
I would echo that. Mary I have nothing but the utmost respect for her, and she did a great job running meetings and did an awful lot of work for this town, and she's owed a huge thank you.
Right.
Often we look at remarks and posts that are posted in places, and some of them are so disgraceful. It was hard to read, but the amount of time and work that Mary Anderson spent for the town of Harwich, she's owed a thank you by every resident in this town.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to say, for the short time that I spent on the board with Mary, it was truly an honor and a privilege to get to meet such a wonderful person, a person who's so giving of her time and energy. And yeah, she'll be missed by me, and I'm just better off for knowing Mary. So thank you to Mary.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I'd like to thank Mary, and she's a terrific human being and had offered a lot of work. I don't think anybody realizes how much work it is to be on the board, but we all appreciate it.
Anderson's resignation led to a discussion among the remaining board members regarding the potential for a special election to fill the vacancy.
You'd be operating under Chapter 41, Section 10, which says you may call the election, so there's no compulsion for the board. There is a provision, however, if more than 200 voters petition and demand it, you must call it. So there is that concept of if you want to have control over the process.
So Emily has outlined dates, obviously, and impacts in terms of holidays, et cetera. So when you look at those dates, she asks us that if, obviously respectfully requests that should you pursue a special election, you set the date no later than January 23rd. And the earliest legal date would be January 2nd. So it's sort of crunch period of making a decision on whether or not we want to move forward with the special election. I mean, other than that, she's got other specifics in here for us to consider in terms of, like, for example, if you were to choose the date that impacts town clerk's office for after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving is not a legal holiday, so they would have to be open for that. So, just different considerations we should make. And then, of course, the overall cost, which she estimates at about $20,000.
I don't see the point, given the time that we're up against, the time that it would take a resident to pull the papers. And if we went with the 2nd, they'd have to have the paperwork back in within 2 weeks.
Right.
If we went with the 9th, it would be 3 weeks. I know when I decided to run for the board, it was a lot longer thought process and conversation than that. And the thought of being thrown into it when we're preparing for town meeting with a bunch of information we've already talked about seems a little daunting to me. The $20,000 is just the clerk's office cost, doesn't include DPW. I did notice that it was not in the budget for the clerk's office, and I would assume it's probably not in the budget for the DPW. Not saying that we can't come up with the money, but I, for now, am against having a special election.
So I just want to be clear, my hesitation in wanting to throw my feelings out there, my thoughts out there is, and waiting to hear what everybody else has to say, is because this is my first go-around. I'm not really sure how intense January through May gets for our town employees, for everybody involved. So if there can be some insight for me while we're having this discussion, because at the end of the day, I kind of did the math. We're looking at about 3.5 months prior to the next election. So, I'm looking for the value in it. It's not easy to find. So I'm just wanting to hear some more info, maybe from.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, it is crunch time from January on. It's crunch time really from now on.
Right.
I'm pretty set, given the timeline and how long this person will serve, and not costing the town the $25,000 roughly that it's going to cost us. And I think that this board can certainly get through it with 4 members and not 5. It's an unfortunate resignation. If it was 8 months or a longer period of time, I would probably be for it. But for the 3.5 months roughly, by the time this happens, and then the thought of rushing someone to pull papers and rushing someone to run does not intrigue me.
And if I'm not mistaken, that person, if they wanted to continue forward and grab a 3-year seat, they would be campaigning as in their 3-month stint, pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, well,
Right?
you'd have to run again, right?
They'd run again. Okay, thank you.
The majority of the board expressed a preference not to rush into seeking a replacement due to the cost and time constraints. However, a differing opinion emerged from Don Howell, who advocated for a 5th member to maintain a fuller board.
I don't know. The whole point of the charter was to have 5 selectmen. The last time something similar to this happened was when Chief Peterson passed away, and it was a similar timeline, and they held the election. In terms of what goes on, you're looking at staff, I'm looking at us, and our timeline for the warrant really begins in earnest in December, and it really takes off in January forward. So I wouldn't be comfortable without having a full board, but that's just my opinion. I'll make a motion that we hold a special election.
Anyone second it?
Just for the record.
Okay. All right. I guess that's that. B.
So, Madam Chair, if I could have failed to gain a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Howell's motion to hold a special election in January to elect a 5th member was not seconded, leading to the resolution of the matter without immediate plans for a new election. Currently, one proactive citizen, Patrick Oaten, has taken the initiative to gather the 200 signatures needed to mandate a special election, emphasizing the importance of ensuring complete representation on the select board for the town's residents. For the time being, the board will continue operations with the existing 4 members until there are either enough signatures are collected or until the next scheduled election, which occurs in 2024. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you have a story that you'd like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org. We would love to hear from you. Tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, as always, I'm Lauren Williamson.